We understand that they have a lot of grievances which could be addressed and they are ready to lay down their arms. This is the easiest, the safest way to tackle the insecurity that has permeated the region now. Contrary to those who think that there should not be any negotiation with bandits, I don't know who said that. I don't know who said there is no negotiation. There is negotiation and there has been negotiation. And nobody can tell any Nigerian about this because we have seen in the previous regime where they have negotiation with Niger militants, Niger Delta militants, in which now they have a ministry, they have a commission to look at their development. So many of them were taken on scholarship to study, and they escalated peace after that negotiation. So the same thing, if you apply the same formula, the same psychology, and the same ideology, the same thing, we'll have peace. We have hope, we have peace in the 12 areas in the United States.
So, will that be the same thing? Should there be a ministry of what? Bandits? Is that what that means? Well, you know, you can send us a message or two from your understanding of what you just heard. We'd like to hear from you as well. But we've got two gentlemen joining us now to weigh in on the matter. Oladimiji Fabi joins us here in our studios in Lagos. He's a former member of the PDP Edo Governorship Screening Committee. And then we also have Tunde Ajibulu, who's a former member, APC Presidential Campaign Council for 2019 elections. So, gentlemen, good morning and thank you for joining us today. Well, let me start with you, Mr. Fabi, on some of these things and how you've seen the way they are all playing out. I mean, we did hear him talk about former last administration, how they handled some of these security issues. So they seem to be borrowing a leaf from what happened last time out. How does this play out for you in terms of the handling of all of these things?
Well, thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians, and good morning, gentlemen. You know, the issue of insecurity in Nigeria is not a matter of today, and we cannot entirely, you know, blame everything on this current government. I say this because this is something that we've been experiencing even since 1999 when President Obasanjo was in power. It was just that the dimensions are quite different from what we're having now. And at every point in time when we had all these security challenges, the president or the presidency at those moments usually respond in such a way that those crises are tackled and they're tackled frontally. But unfortunately, we are in a situation where it seems that the government of the day is overwhelmed by the myriad of all this crisis, of this insecurity in the country. I feel so sad, and I know many Nigerians are equally sad about the development. And in a situation where you have leadership that are, like I said, overwhelmed by most of these things, and there has not been any clear-cut strategy to address these challenges, it's really, really sad for us in Nigeria. I feel bad, so I feel terribly, sad about this situation in Nigeria today. We really do not have to go through this route if we have, number one, a listening government, if we have leadership that are, that are ready to seek for help when they need one. You must, when you have a problem, the first thing is to identify that you have a problem. So, and I want to believe that they do, but unfortunately there's something they call arrogance in power. I guess that is what is really affecting us this much in this country as we speak. My take is that whatever this government has to do within the remaining period it has to stay in government, they must restore peace, they must restore sanity, they must restore security for us in Nigeria.
Well, Mr. Ajibulu, do you share the same thoughts?
Opposition will always be opposition. Thank you for having me. But however, I must say something that non-state actors will always emerge when there's a supposed breakdown of law and order. Now, but I'll also say, no matter how well-intentioned non-state actions are taken, if it is outside the ambit of the law, I guarantee you it will not end well.
Well, it's interesting that when you put it that way, but then it also seemed to make people vulnerable to taking action on their own if state actors do not do what is needful. You know, when you talk about non-state actors now, do not forget, just one moment, do not forget that at some points, you know, we have had a situation where state actors have called for and collaborated with non-state actors to take on these issues, just as we heard, you know, what happened in Edo State. But non-state actors have to show capacity before state actors can cooperate with them, right?
It is what it is. It is what it is, but I will unequivocally state that, well, you have a right to defend yourself.
Okay, well, when you say you have a right to defend yourself, who are you talking about right now?
If everything else has failed, you have the right to defend yourself.
Everything meaning?
If everything else has failed, okay, I'll give you an instance. If armed robbers come to my house, I have a wife and I have children. If armed robbers make it to my house, I will defend my family by whatever means necessary.
Any way saying that? Are you in any?
Armed robbers are broken into my house. At that point, I will not be calling the police.
Okay.
First things first will be the survival of my family. And whatever I can do, whatever I will defend my family. And I believe every Nigerian and everybody in the world is entitled to do that.
Mr. Fabi, you want to respond to that very quickly?
Most times when I'm on national TV and then discussion borders on security, borders on economy, borders on those critical segments of our economy, of our life. And people come to say, it's politics. I understand that one of the reasons why we're having these challenges is because most of these crises are politicized. I'm always taken aback when I hear people talk about, I see everything to politics. Now, security issue is a matter that affects everybody. Same as economy, same as anything you want to talk about. But the truth of the matter is what we need to do at every point in time when we have issues is for us to speak to ourselves and understand where we're coming from. It is obvious that Nigeria is going through a lot. And whether anybody wants to believe it or not, Nigeria is presently broken and damaged very well. And we will not understand how far this is until maybe in the nearest future, or perhaps when this government has left the power. So I will not really dwell on them, but my take is that we need to work together to ensure that these problems are solved. But unfortunately, we don't have listening leadership. It's the problem. Sometimes I want to believe that are they listening? I mean, they're just listening to themselves alone. They're not listening to Nigeria. Well, they don't really know.
The presidency may not agree with you that they're not a listening government, given that they listen to the NSAS protesters. They gave them 5 for 5. So,
what have you seen after the giving of the 5 for 5? What has happened after then? You know, it's a time bomb. Don't let me lie to you. Don't let me deceive you about that. It's still going to come. See, it is under this government. You will be surprised to see. Are you not surprised that the IG is given an extension? If it's a listening government, are they supposed to go through that route? An IG under whose leadership, I'm sorry to say this, police were killed. Criminals, hoodlums, took over genuine agitation of Nigerian youth and they couldn't do anything. So what are we talking about? If this government is a listening government, the IG is not supposed to be returned for even one day. Because I don't know what the IG is going to achieve in the next 3 months of his return. I don't know. I don't know what he's going to do differently. Somebody has been there for the past 2 years, and now it's going to be having an extension of 3 months. I don't know what is coming that is very new. So this government, if this government is a listening one, this is not, because Nigerians have been crying, we have laws that guide us. Lots of legal luminaries have been on this, and you hear what they're saying about it. So if it's a listening government, are we going to be where we are now? Look at the service chiefs that just left. Nigerians complain everywhere. Are they a listening government? Look at...
Yeah, Mr. Jubulu, in addition to your response, or perhaps you want to respond before I put in the next question. Go ahead.
Please, I want to. Please, I want to. Yes, I've heard what has said. Well, I think the last time I was live in your studio, I believe I was one of the people, that was last year, I think about January or February, I think I was one of the people that was clamoring alongside the Senate President, alongside traditional rulers for a change in service chiefs. Well, it's saying, it's saying a listening government, service chiefs have been changed. Service chiefs has been changed. For me, maybe it will have been 2 years ago, but service chiefs have been changed. But now the President of the Federal Republic is the Chief Security Officer. And he appoints and removes security chiefs at his pleasure, at his behest. And then there are so many things we are not open to, security-wise. There are so many things that are not shared with us, security-wise. But hey, service chiefs have been changed, and it is a breath of fresh air by all ramifications. And I believe we'll see some excitement. We'll see some morale. And we will see the armed forces will be reinvigorated. You can't continue doing the same things and expect to get the same results. I'm not a military tactician. But it's all strategy must be changed. We cannot continue to do this for the terror in the Northeast to go. A government must protect its citizens. That is key. The military must project power. That is key. And the movement, the seemingly free movement of Boko Haram appearing here and there, the seemingly free movement of bands appearing here and there must be curbed. Technology is needed. That is key. And at this point in time, I will say to hell with national pride. If any technology to help Nigeria, if we have to go cap in hand, if we have to go and grovel, we need to get technology from countries that have it. We saw the American that was kidnapped not too long ago, how the Americans came through Chad and came somewhere in Nigeria and extracted. We need technology. We need help moving forward. And then, of course, soft power is very key. The government, the dividends of democracy has to get to the people, the economy. There's a youth bulge problem in Nigeria. The youth bulge can go either. Right now, it's not going the way it's supposed to go. And if this soft power approach is not used, if governance does not get to the youth, if there's no hope for the youth, we'll continue to have this problem because there will be ready supply for banditry and for Boko Haram terrorists.
Some of the materials, some of the views that we aired before both of you began speaking, one of them was from the Sheikh, who was talking about the way to handle some of those bandits, suggesting that they saw how the Niger Delta agitators, the militants, to use that word, were treated. They have a ministry now. So he says something similar in that regard should be done to address this problem. Do you subscribe to that?
Sorry, the Boko, the militants, it was an economic problem. It was stifling Nigeria's main source of income, and it was treated as such. This, I'm not sure Boko Haram. I don't see it as an economic issue. They come up on it's on ideology. Where they're coming from is ideological. So if something is ideological, I'm not sure how it affects a nation, and why they should have a ministry. I don't. I think Mr. President has done the best he can in given what is happening with the Northeast development. I think that's enough. There's definitely. There should be no ministry. I do not think.
Well, let's get Mr. Fabi's response. Yes, you were talking about soft power, and that's an example of soft power. You co-opt rather than coerce, as it were. But Mr. Fabi, so there's been this drawing of similarity, really, with what happened, as you've heard, with the Niger Delta militants and what's happening now. What's your take on it? Is this a route we should go down or not?
Yes, every government has responsibility to respond to issues and exigencies, especially if it's a very serious government. At the time, former President Yaradua, brought in the issue of Niger State was a deliberate policy to frontally address the challenges at that time. Now we have the issue of insecurity, the herdsmen, the kidnappers, the banditry, and all that. I think what this government should have done ab initio, was to have to conduct a critical studies of what actually happened. I don't think, like the gentleman in Abuja said, there should be any further ministry because there's a commission already in the Northeast that has been saddled with the development of that area. I remember in 2015 election, the former Vice President of Nigeria, Atiku Abubakar, came up with programs to address, policy document to address all these challenges. I really do not think that they should be given any ministry. Rather, the government should do more, by looking inward and see other ways to address the challenges in that region.
Let me quickly bounce this off Mr. Ajibolu, because you, Mr. Fabi, you talked about arrogance of power. You talked about listening government. And specifically now, Mr. Ajibolu, there are those, beyond Mr. Fabi as well, there are governors also that say, well, the body language at the center seems to be fueling some of these, attacks, the rhetorics we have seen, and all that. Don't you think there should be a change in the body language at the center, which a lot of people have been clamoring for a while now?
Well, talking about body language, well, what I know is at given times, responses come from the presidency. Albeit, how it comes sometimes, it's puzzling to a lot of people, how the response comes sometimes. But pretty much, hey, Mr. President changed service chiefs, and he declared to the service chiefs that it is a state of emergency. He declared to the service chiefs that it is a state of emergency. So I'm not sure, what my brother means by body language and all that. And the fact that and then he was saying something earlier that things should not be politicized. The fact that I'm an APC member does not mean that one should not call a spade when it's there. My cousin was kidnapped last week. I'm from Kogi State. She was kidnapped last week. She spent 4 days with kidnappers. I am thinking, as I speak to you, I am thinking of how to go to my village, Ekereade, to go and register and revalidate my membership. And I know what I'm going to do. I can't just drive there. That's ludicrous. I will need at least 8 policemen to do that. I'm going to have to fly to Abuja and drive to my village. And I know the security I'm going to get around myself. What is happening? And I don't think people in the seat of power, and hence Mr. President telling security chiefs there is a state of emergency. I'm not sure any minister, I'm not sure there's any minister, I'm not sure there's anybody that can just enter into a car without security and drive from Abuja to Kaduna. I don't think
instructional that you even made that confession, and that's actually something very, very heart-shattering. But so imagine that just you will have 8 policemen to yourself on one trip. It begs the question again of the severity of the security situation in Nigeria, and how that your party at the center is not really able to tackle the issue. That's the bone of contention here now. Why would only one person need 8 policemen when there are 200 million other people? So how do you explain that to anyone?
Like I said earlier, when it comes to security, Mr. President, there's a lot of things Mr. President, the National Security Advisor, will not be able to share with us. And like I said earlier, the president has declared an emergency. We've been clamoring for service chiefs for the last 2.5 years. We have new service chiefs. There'll be a breath of fresh air. Like I've said, I'm sure they are strategizing right now. And we're going to see changes very, very soon. We're going to see changes very, very soon.
Mr. Fabi, this must be... Yeah, go ahead.
I said strategy has to be reviewed. I mentioned a few other things that has to happen. We have to find technology. We have to go to nations that have the wherewithal and the technology to assist us. This is not conventional warfare.
Do you think that the hierarchy, the party leadership, and government at the center, the presidency, you think that they're getting this kind of feedbacks as to the reality on ground?
Well, I'm speaking as Tunde Ajibulo MNI. I'm not speaking for the party, nor am I speaking for the government. Yes, but I believe, well, party hierarchy, most politicians are grassroots, they're grassroots people. So they must be getting feedbacks. I personally, I reach out to people in the party and tell them as it is. And I'm known for that, for not pulling any punches.
I don't know how it works, but I hope this is not part of what they describe as anti-party activity. It's not, is it?
No, it is not anti. I mean, one of my younger colleagues, well, he's very high up in the party, Barrister Ishmael. I believe he was here. He was with you some time ago. And he said everything. He called the party out. He said everything the exact way it was. This is not anti-party. It is just stating facts. We have a saying in Yoruba, literally translated, it will be like, because I want to eat meat, I'm not going to call a cow, sir. That's the literal translation. But the fact that I'm in APC does not mean we speak the truth to power. We say things the way it is. I'm telling you, Mr. President himself, the #1 citizen of this country, told his new service chiefs that we are in a state of emergency. What more?
So Fabi, this was music to your ears.
I appreciate my brother for considering to what the entire Nigerians are saying, and I like that. But the truth of the matter is that this is not the time to pamper the president or the leadership of the country. We cannot continue to pamper them. We must tell them the truth. Let me say this quickly. When President Obasanjo was in power, and there were allegations against the IG of that time, what did he do? He fired Tafa Balogun. When Boko Haram broke into force headquarters of Nigeria under IGP Ringim, what did President Jonathan, what did he do? He fired him. I must confess that Mr. President is incredibly tolerant, but his tolerance is beginning to hurt Nigerians. And this is the truth. His tolerance is beginning to hurt the economy, is beginning to hurt the people, and we must refrain from that. I'm looking at a situation whereby the remaining time of this government, they will make sure that our institutions are working. We said we copied from America. We saw what America did. There was this office that was in charge of when you have a new president, they start the briefing, provide responses and all that. We saw what they did. So this president has the duty to make sure that it's because our institutions are not working. That's why we're having this, up and down, and then all these crises at our hands. We must get Nigeria back to work. The orders must be reset, and that is what Mr. President signed up for Nigeria to do. All right,
Mr. Oladimeji Fabi is a former member of the PDP Edo Governorship Screening Committee. We've also had the pleasure of hosting Tunde Ajibulo, who is a former member of APC's Presidential Campaign Council for 2019. Gentlemen, thank you both for talking to us today.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much.